welcome. Fraud has impacted us globally, so much so that we now have an International Fraud Awareness Week each year. This year, it's taking place between the 12th and 18th of November. In support of the Prevention and Detection Initiative, SAFPS has put together a series of interviews with key industry stakeholders to help us understand what is the current fraud landscape in South Africa and how it's impacting us and our country. I'm Nazia Karim, the Head of Product Development for the Southern African Fraud Prevention Service. And joining me today is Dr. Chetty, the Head of Business Integrity at Santam, to discuss fraud in the insurance sector, how it's impacting us, and what can be done about it. Hi, Dr. Chetty. Thank you for joining me today.
Good afternoon, Nazia, and thank you for the opportunity for being here today.
Most welcome. So just to get going, tell us a little about yourself and what it is you do.
So yeah, I'm Chetty. I'm Head of Business Integrity at Santam. The business integrity consists of 4 different disciplines: the forensic team, the ethics team, the risk management team, and the group intelligence team.
That's quite a diverse team in place. So let's a quick review about what is insurance fraud exactly. Our viewers need to understand what constitutes insurance fraud. Perhaps facilitate us with a few examples.
Yeah, thank you. So Nazia, I mean, in the insurance industry, you predominantly get 2 types of insurance crime. One is an inflated claim, and this is where a policyholder suffer a genuine loss, and then the policyholder inflates that loss to get a better return by adding items that they did not own, or items that are not damaged or lost during that specific insurance peril. And like I said, the underlying purpose is to get a better payout for that specific claim. And then the other one, which is much more serious, is a false claim or a staged claim. This is where a policy will stage an incident or create a false insurance peril event in return seeking kind of compensation from the insurance. The second one is where there's much more planning, it's much more organized. An example of this will be a false housebreaking or a false theft of motor vehicle.
That constitutes first-party fraud. So just in line with that, can the insured or their accomplice be deemed to have committed the actual crime and prosecuted for it?
Yeah, Nazia, so at Santam, we have a 0 tolerance. It's based on the evidence that we collect. And I think sometimes policyholders do not realize that inflating a claim or submitting a false claim amounts to criminal conduct. So anybody that we can prove that are linked to that specific incident, we will prosecute them to the full extent of the law, because it is a criminal conduct.
That is actually quite interesting. I remember in previous conversations, you mentioned that many see it as a victimless crime.
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
That correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they do not see that they're committing an offense, and I guess this is largely based on 2 things in my mind that are primary drivers. One is that society never frowns upon things like insurance crime or insurance fraud. Inflating a claim or submitting a false claim. People do not frown upon that. So therefore, because there's such a accepting attitude by society, people feel it's okay to do that. So I think that for me is the first thing. And I think the second key driver, Nazia, is where a policyholder receives bad advice. So somebody tells him or motivates this person that it's okay to submit a false claim or an inflated claim. And what I think that specific policyholder doesn't understand at that specific time is that if there's any fraud, that person is going to be prosecuted. Nobody is going to take into consideration that it was bad advice.
Yes, I think viewers, we need to understand that intentionally falsifying documentation or doctoring information actually is a crime in itself, and that a business can be as much a victim to a crime as you in your personal capacity. Collaborating in any form with a criminal or criminal organization is a crime. Which brings me to my next question, Dr. Chetty. How has organized crime syndicates impacted the insurance sector? Do you see the trends occurring locally, replicating in the international area?
Yeah, so I think internationally, it was always a trend where criminal syndicates were targeting the insurance industries abroad. We see no different kind of pattern and trend here in South Africa. So while we're on this kind of pattern, when you think of a syndicate, think of these groups of armed people sitting and doing this. But it's actually what we've seen, a new phenomenon which we've seen emerging, and we did some research, and we don't see this phenomenon in abroad, is what we call community participative insurance crime. So this is where we've seen family members, people living in blocks of flats, people living in certain suburbs, and people living in certain streets where they share information to submit fraudulent claims. And we start to see this trend emerging more and more. So I think in my mind, addressing the question around syndicates, this is one of, in my mind, a kind of syndicate kind of behavior. Because if you unpack syndicate behavior, you'll see that it's where people support each other in support of achieving an ultimate criminal goal. So coming back to kinds of syndicate behavior, we at Santam have termed syndicate behavior, or organized crime as we call it, where one person can commit this kind of pattern. And this is where one person would have exploited a loophole and got away the first time, and the person continues to exploit that loophole. Or where we've seen collusive behavior, this is where a policyholder, in conjunction or in collusion with other parties in the value chain, start to fabricate claims to achieve a certain specific criminal outcome.
It's quite interesting, the emerging trends that you've identified. In the past few months, syndicates have been impersonating trusted institutions, offering loans to already indebted customers, and scamming victims using application and insurance fees as the reasons for payments required for these loans. In some cases, the scammers are actually impersonating the financial advisors from reputable insurance companies, offering the consumers long and short-term insurance, as well as investment insurance policies under the guise of these trusted institutions, and then leading the consumer's drive. But how, as a consumer, do we verify the credentials of the financial advisor or their association to a particular institution or organization? Perhaps you can elaborate a little on this for us.
Yeah, thank you, Nazia. So I think it's important for consumers to understand that these criminals target the most vulnerable of societies, the poor, the old age, and students. And we're starting to see an emergence with students. So I think before consumers hand over their hard-earned cash, that they authenticate the validity of that specific financial advisor. This can be done either by looking at the regulator's website, who has a list of authorized financial advisors, the FSCA, or they could phone that specific insurer directly and validate their credentials. I think it's worth the effort to validate this information before embarking on handing over the cash. Because once that cash is gone, the monies are gone, and you cannot go back and hold back an institution if you didn't do the work, especially where impersonation takes place.
That is very true. Part of the responsibility in the process of prevention is ourselves making sure that we've taken these steps to prevent ourselves from falling victim. And to help in this process, SAFPS launched YIMA this year to provide the consumers with information about the different types of scams. We actually have a dedicated tab on the website for insurance scams. So take some time to actually read about it, viewers, and learn a little more about it. And hopefully it's going to prevent you from falling victim. But let's quickly go back to Dr. Chetty. Tell me, what are the other initiatives you as the insurance sector are running to help protect victims or protect us from falling victim?
Yeah, I think from an insurance perspective, I want to assure policyholders that if the claim is legitimate, we will pay the claim. But to also assure honest policyholders that we won't pay fraudulent claims, we have a group of assessors who go out to validate the quantum and merit of the claim. And if it falls within, if it's a claim's okay, we will pay out the claim. But from a fraud prevention perspective, we use technology in terms of detecting patterns and trends. And like I said, Santam has a zero tolerance. We will prosecute any person that commits a crime against Santam to the full extent of the law. The other thing is we have very meaningful partnerships in the form of the Insurance Crime Bureau, which is an industry body where we share and collaborate information around emerging trends. We also have good collaboration with South African police services when it comes to the prosecution of these cases. We also have a standing relationship with the South African Fraud Prevention Services, which we have found very successful in our collaboration. And the platform that's hosted by the South African Fraud Prevention Services allows us to list people where we found confirmed cases of fraud. This means that if somebody is listed on the database, the other community members of the South African Fraud Prevention Services have access to this information, and they will be able to carefully scrutinize any listed person when it comes to onboarding that specific person. The other initiative that we got, I think, which I'm excited about, is about us within the insurance industry. We formed an insurance crime working group where we are working together with law enforcement to declare insurance crime as a priority crime. We believe that insurance industry as a connector of industries in a successive economy would be broken if we let fraud go unabated or unattended.
I have to agree with you. Insurance plays quite a big role in all of our lives. I'm just thinking simple things like my cell phone or my car. I don't think it would be working very well if I lost it and couldn't go and get my insurance to cover it. So yeah, I agree. I think it does play a very big role in our economy. And I'm interested in hearing a little bit, if you could keep us in the loop as you make your successes about getting it prioritized as a priority crime in South Africa. That would be great.
Yeah, I'll absolutely keep you informed, and most probably we will engage with you guys as we go through this journey.
Thank you, Dr. Chetty, for joining us today. And viewers, I hope you learned a thing or two about insurance crime. I certainly did. And it was quite interesting to also learn about the new emerging trends. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep ourselves abreast of the situation and prevent ourselves from becoming a victim of fraud or a perpetrator. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you in one of our other segments.
Thank you, Nazia.